Good morning, students. Today we are going to be working on lesson 2.3, multiplying fractions. So there are three different examples that we're going to go over. One example is just straight up multiplying regular fractions. Another example is multiplying mixed numbers. And the third example is going to be multiplying mixed numbers and fractions using order of operations. So the first example that they give you on page 57 is 1/2 times 4/5. So you need to remember that when you're multiplying fractions, you do not need to change the denominator like you do with adding and subtracting. All you do is multiply straight across. So 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 5 is 10. Now this is not in simplest form, and remember I told you from here on out everything has to be in simplest form. So our greatest common factor here is 2, so we're going to divide by 2 and end up with 2/5. So the answer, or the product of 1/2 times 4/5 is 2/5. Just remember to put it in simplest form. The next example is with mixed numbers, and we have 1 1/4 times 1 2/3. Now, what you need to do here is you need to turn these mixed numbers into improper fractions. And if you don't remember how to do that, this is how we do it. You take your denominator, you multiply it by your whole number, and then you add 1. So 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. You never change the denominator, so it stays 4. Then you multiply. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5/3. So now we have 5/4 times 5/3. Again, we multiply straight across, and we get 25/12. This is an improper fraction. We want to convert that improper fraction back into a mixed number. So we need to ask ourselves, you can do one of two things. You can ask yourself, how many times does 12 go into 25? And I know that that is 2 times, because 12 times 2 is 24. And then I have 1 left over, and I keep my denominator the same. Or if you want to divide, you can divide, and that would be 25 divided by 12. If you do that, you're going to have to put your decimal point, add your zeros, and then convert your remainder into a fraction. So if I were you, I would try this first. Ask yourself how many times the denominator goes into the numerator, and then your leftovers on top of the denominator. Okay? Now the last example that they give you on the top of page 58 is 4/5 plus 6 times 3/8. Couple of things to do here. Remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we're doing the work in the parentheses first. Now, I told you the other day, whenever we're multiplying a whole number by a fraction, we put the whole number over 1. So we have 6/1 times 3/8. We multiply straight across, and we get 6 times 3 is 18/8. Okay? Now, what you need to do is you need to look back here, and now we have 4/5 plus 18/8. Now, since we are adding fractions, we need to come up with a common denominator. So the least common multiple of 5 and 8 is 40. 40 divided by 5 is 8 times 4 is 24. Oh, no, sorry, 32. And 40 divided by 8 is 5. And 5 times 18 is 122. So now, actually it's not, I'm sorry, boys and girls. It's 90. I apologize. So now we have 32/40 plus 90/40. And that will equal 122/40. So here again, we have an improper fraction. So you can ask yourself, how many times does 40 going to 122, okay? And we know that that's 3 times, because 40 times 3 is 120, okay? And then, so we would have 3 and 2/40. That's not in simplest form. So we would divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, and we would get 3 and 1/20. So this is your answer to this problem. So there's quite a few steps, but you need to just make sure that you follow your order of operations and go one step at a time. Because if you don't go one step at a time, you're going to get it wrong every time. And if you don't follow your order of operations, like I've said, you're going to get it wrong every single time. So just remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. When you're adding or subtracting fractions, you need to make sure that you find the greatest common factor, least common multiple, and then get a common denominator. So I hope that helped, and I will be in touch with Mrs. Kalovich tomorrow if you guys have any questions. So good luck.